Right, now I have the rear differential. So the rear differential, now that everything's taken apart, I'm gonna have these two screws here that I have to take out. And these are on the side of the sway bar, they're just on top. So the case opens front to back. Which I think is a good thing. I mean, it could open two halves. I mean, that works as well. That's the way the T-Max is. And not just the T-Max, there's several other vehicles. But here we go. So that's it. So you do not need to remove those screws there unless you have to replace maybe the case. But this is it. So this is a differential. Now if you're holding it this way, so that's the front, the gears are going to go on this side. And one of the fascinating things, these are actually, if you look at the gears, I mean, this is a strong cut on the gears. This is not a straight cut, you have that angle. But I find it interesting because this is one of those few vehicles where the pinion is way off to the side. So you have the cut here. Usually you'll find this more centered. So it's a good design. I mean, I like the design, but that is massive. I mean, let me go ahead and remove this. So you're going to need a 1.5, I believe it's a 1.5, 2.0, so 2.0. And this is a screw, comes out, here we go. So you're gonna remove this, and then this will just push out. And there it comes with the bearing. I'm not sure if the camera will catch this, but look at those gears. I mean, that is very nice. That is good quality gear. Well, the design, but then again, this isn't breaking. So this is how you would remove it. The bearing is here, so just take the bearing and put it back. This is fine, so we'll go ahead and put this in here. And then we'll go ahead and put this back. Now you want to match the holes, that hole to this hole. And screw goes on this side, so it's threaded on one side and then it's thin on the other side because this will go all the way through. Let me go ahead and add thread lock to this. So I'll clean it a little and then I'll add thread lock because I don't want this thing backing out, mainly because I'm the one rebuilding it, and the worst thing that can happen is happens to a vehicle that you've been working on. Here, let's see. All right, so we'll go. Oops, that slipped. I have to turn it. There we go. So all I did is I used my finger to push this up, and then I was rotating it until I found it, and that's pretty much it. So this is a nice construction. Here's the differential. So you're going to have this little shroud here, and this just goes in here, just like that. But I'm not going to go ahead and slip it in just yet. Wait, hold on. Like this. All right, so it goes in just like that, because I need to take this apart. So these will just pop out. So I'm trying to keep them in the same order. And this is how you would access your bearings. So if you needed to replace your bearings, that's the way you would replace them. If you needed to access other components, that's how you would do it as well. All right, here we go. There's a ton of dirt in there. But then the bearings, so you have to remove these 4 screws, and once you remove those 4 screws, this will come out. And if you saw my video on the center differential, it's the exact same thing, so I'm not going to go ahead and break this open, but just remove those 4 screws. This will open up, and then just lift on the little screw, take the pin out, and then this will come out with the bearing, and then the bearing, this bearing, you'll be able to lift it off this output shaft. That's the way it works. But as of now, this looks good, feels good, so I'm gonna leave it. One thing that I do need is more grease because the grease is pretty much gone. So let me go ahead and do that. And here we go. Now I'm going with the gears, not against the gears. I don't want to cut myself. These gears are sharp. As I start going different directions. All right, so this is how you would open up the differential in order to lubricate the differential. Now I can go ahead and put these shrouds back on, and we'll go ahead and put the other one back on, and the bearings actually sit on these. All right, so now there's grease here. So again, that cut, that angle, that's gonna follow this. It's a nice design. I think it's too complex though. I could have simplified this. There's really, I don't know why they have so many pieces. And I also don't understand why this thing's not, oops, wanting to fit. All right, let's try it again. May have to actually stand up and, oh, there we go. And now this other side. Just need to shift it a little. There we go. Just need to shift this a little. And there it is. So this is now greased up and lubed. We are good to go. And now we can take the other half and then just mate the two halves together. And we can go ahead and put these screws. And that will be it. Now I've cleaned the other plastics. I may clean this real quick. No, I'll just leave it. I mean, my friend's gonna watch, but he'll know I didn't do it. It's just on the outside. I mean, this is not that hard to clean. Actually, let me go ahead and clean it real quick, and then I'll start reassembling this. And let's see, there's a variety of things that I can start. So this is the rear. Now this was already clean. I'm going to begin with this. Now I'm going to do the sway bar at the end. But let's see. Because I put the link on, I'm going to have to drop it. There we go. Perfect. And then just make sure the pin goes in there. So this side is almost set. I can go ahead and do the sway bar link at this time. I think it's there. Here we go. We'll do the sway bar first. And there we go. All right. We have it. So that's going to go in there. Now I'm going to put the pin in through. I should have placed the pin in first. But let's see, is it there? There we go. And that's it. So I can go ahead and move the shock tower in place. And I'm moving it in place mainly so I can hold to this. Here we go. All right. Now, the bumpers what goes back here, which I guess I should have thought about that first. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and just drive. So I have these 4 screws, and then the one that goes to the length, that's the longer one with the nut. So I'm gonna drive one of these into the shock tower just to make it a little more stable for me to handle. So I can do the link. Actually, one is good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this screw in for the link. Now this one happened to be on the bottom hole. which is where it's going to go. And here it is. And now we'll do the other one. Now, just in case you missed my other videos where I was tearing this down, giving the explanation on how to take this apart, there's just 4 screws that hold the body mounts. So it's these here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. To remove the shock, we just needed the 2mm driver to go in through the back, and then a 5.5 nut driver for these nuts here. So now place these bottom screws. These are the ones that go down here. And let's see. It's my neighbor's dog. He's having fun. Here we go. I'm not even sure if the microphone picks up the dog, but anyway. And here we go. And I'll show you how the shock mounts. Let's see. Now once I get to the front end, I'll actually tear down one of these shocks just so you can see. Let's see, this is in the middle hole. So we'll put this one in the middle hole. That way both of them match. And then it's something important. You want your shocks, both of them, to match. So don't put one, say, on the outer hole and the other one in the inner hole. Unless you had some special suspension needs and that was necessary, which I cannot think of one at this time. But maybe somebody can put in the comments. Alright, now this little cone bit goes in and the wider part goes toward the shock tower, the narrow part goes toward the shock, and then the shock just goes in here, and then we just grab the nut and the nut will go in here, and this will be a 5.5 nut driver that you will be needing. Snug is all you need. And now I can mount the rear bumper. So the rear bumper, let me just put this in the screw. The pins for the suspension arms are going to go in here. And this brace, the little T portion, points down. So that's something else to keep in mind. Here we go. And I'm just going to have to pull on the arm a little just to make it in there. Alright, let's try one at a time. One at a time. And that's it. So now I get to drive these in. This one's almost out. Let me drive this in a little. All right. That's what I thought. All right. Do that. that's in there. Perfect. All right. And here we go. So now I can drive these in. Then once these are in, I'll check the other screws. Actually, I'm looking at them right now. Everything seems to be fine. Here we go. Do not over tighten these. That's a very common mistake. People will over tighten these. The only thing that happens is it warps the plastic. And the plastic works sort of as a spring. So when the plastic compresses, it pushes out and holds everything in place. But if you warp it, you kind of destroy part of its ability to do that. That is it. All right, we are good. Now we have these little spacers. These spacers are for the rear bumper. It's going to be these two holes here on the side. So put the screw in, then put the little spacer in. And then once the spacer's in, just kind of holds that section of the bumper. And just drive it in. I'm going to get it close, but not all the way, because I want some wiggle room here on the other side. There we go, so perfect. So that is there. And we are almost finished. Alright, so now just one more screw to secure the sway bar on this other side. And there we go. And that is it. So the rear end is complete. Differential got greased and it looks a little cleaner. Probably should have cleaned the bumper. But that is it for the rear end. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Please subscribe if you have not, and have a good one.
Oh, my hair!